To find meaning in something is to imbue an object, a moment, an idea with additional significance. And meaning can be very valuable, but it can also hold us back. I'm Colin Wright, and you're watching Consider This. So meaning is a construct. New Year's Eve, for instance, is a very meaningful time for a lot of people. It represents a whole lot of things. But that meaning is not a universal thing. This is not something that is purely scientific or concrete. This is not an absolute, meaningful thing. For one, different cultures have different New Year's Eves around the world. For other people, they've never actually celebrated a New Year's Eve, and so there's less meaning imbued in that day. But if you think about it too, New Year's Eve is not an absolute. We as human beings have agreed to adhere to the same time standard, or a very similar time standard, around the world. And as a result, the end of that time standard that we've agreed to, 365 days, 24 hours in a day, so on and so forth, comes to an end. But that doesn't mean that the universe cares. The woodland creatures don't give a shit that it's New Year's Eve, because to them nothing else has changed. The universe as a whole does not care, because to the universe there is no significance to New Year's Eve, nothing inherent. This is meaning that we've developed, that we've agreed upon. This is a construct that we've agreed to all acknowledge, and to all recognize, and to all participate in. It has meaning because we've given it meaning. We do the same thing with all other types of events, with our first kiss, with graduating from university. If you look at the things that you actually find meaningful, you'll realize that there's very little consistency between these things, other than a moment in time that we have decided is important for some reason. And as a result, we take in more data. We look around and we remember the look on our friend's face, and the color of the walls, and the smell of the air. To find meaning in something can be really wonderful as a result. It's a moment in time that's flash frozen in our brain, and though we might change details later, it's so real to us, this moment. It's so meaningful and significant. Finding that significance is essentially us saying to our brain, hey, brain, wake up, pay attention. This is something that's important. You're going to want to remember this. So the very same thing that makes meaning wonderful can also make it an incredible burden. It means that we imbue additional significance in something or some place or some time when there may not be any absolute significance. Just like New Year's Eve, there may not be any absolute significance in that piece of paper upon which there happens to be a photograph of somebody that mattered to you a long time ago. This photograph, then, can seem to be very meaningful, but the meaning itself is not in the photograph. It's up here, it's in you. This is something that you have decided is important. And there's different ways to treasure this memory other than holding on to an item that now you have to carry the rest of your life. The same is true with experiences or relationships or jobs, a town that you've lived in your entire life because everything meaningful that's ever happened to you took place in this town. The downsides of this is that these things become anchors. You now have to carry around this box of photographs for the rest of your life because the meaning seems to be in these photographs. You now have to live in this little town the rest of your life, even though there are opportunities for you elsewhere. Because everything of substance, everything of significance that's ever happened to you has happened here in this town. So meaning can be wonderful, but it can also be an incredible burden. And as a result, the best way to deal with it is to recognize the power that you have over defining what is meaningful and what is not. Recognize that we can imbue meaning in anything. We can say August 13th. August 13th is Left-Handers Day. Finally a holiday for my people. But it's also something that to most people is not meaningful at all. I can choose to identify this holiday and celebrate on this day, or I can choose not to. I can choose to make this object, this photograph, important, or I can choose to remember the person in it or the moment that it represents and get rid of the photograph, the tangible object itself completely. That doesn't get rid of the meaning that I feel for this person or this event. All it does is give me one less thing that I have to carry. This also applies to things that are meaningful or significant in a negative way, things that are not fond memories, times when we made mistakes or hurt somebody. It's important that we're able to look at these things and take the lessons from them because that helps us grow and not make the same mistakes later, but then recognize when we are still learning a lesson and when we are just torturing ourselves for no reason, when we're tormenting ourselves with significance rather than moving on. As long as we've extracted the lesson from something, it's okay to let it go and to look back on that and say, that was a mistake, but not have to feel anything about it anymore. We can take that significance, we can water it down, and we can remember it as a rational lesson rather than something that we have to be miserable about for the rest of our lives. Meaning is in you, not in things. You control what is significant and what you remember and what you continue to revisit over and over on an emotional level, and what you leave behind. To hold on to things just for the sake of holding on to things because of some implied meaning is really just hoarding. And it's hoarding the past as much as anything. It's clinging to the way that things were and the way that you were. And that keeps you from moving forward onto something new. It keeps you from growing. It keeps you from changing. Remember the past. Remember the good stuff. Remember the lessons that you've learned. But also be willing to let go of it when it makes sense so that you can move forward toward the future. This allows us to appreciate where we've been while still moving forward toward where we would like to be. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, a like or a share or a subscription would be marvelous. If you want to find out more about me and my work, you can either Google Colin Wright or you can go to colin.io. Thanks, guys.